Mana itu ada? Balik ini. Balik dia.
Kerajinan belum ada orang.
To the ocean. To the ocean, we see islands like a chain on the sea, shining horizon, the praising of God, blessings for everyone in our universe.
Rain for us, pay the fields and mountain ranges, our blessings that have given us life. Together cultures in diversity, brimming with charm and reaching victory.
Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra, can be fading charm, will never fade away. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra, come along with us on a wonderful journey.
Rain for us, pay the fields and mountain ranges,
Our blessings that have given us life.
together cultures in diversity, brimming with charm and reaching victory.
Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra, can be very strong, will never fade away. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra, come along with us on a wonderful journey. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra, can be very strong, will never fade away. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra. When we look far away to the ocean, we see islands like a chain on the sea, shining horizon, the praising of God, blessings for everyone in our universe.
Rain for us, pay the fields and mountain ranges, our blessings that have given us life. Together cultures in diversity, brimming with charm and reaching victory.
Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra, can be very charm, will never fade away. Lampung, the treasure
mountain ranges.
Our blessings that have given us life.
Together cultures in diversity.
Dreaming with charm and reaching victory. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra. Keep it very strong, you'll never fade away. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra. Come along with us on a wonderful journey. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra. We'll never fade away. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatra. For Indonesia, Indonesia. For Indonesia.
Hello, my name is Francis Mo from Kenya. I am a student at the Institute of Informatics and Business, Dharmajaya. I came to Indonesia for the first time in the year 2017 for International Internship Scholarship. I'm now doing my master's in the same institution. The reason why I like Dharmajaya is because Dharmajaya has the best programs for students. Here you meet students from all over the world. We have students from Russia, students from Malaysia, students from Rwanda, students from Madagascar. So you get opportunity to exercise your language, to speak English, to learn Bahasa, to interact with people from different parts of the world, to enjoy friendly lecturers, friendly students. And they have many programs for the students like wall climbing, Altara, music clubs, library, going to the beach, visiting national parks. That make the students very busy and interactive. So I would encourage all the students from around the world to apply for the programs in Dharmajaya, because in Dharmajaya you'll be very happy. Dharmajaya is the best private university in Indonesia and Lampung province. Dharmajaya the best.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Siti Musena binti Muhammad Uzuki. Saya pelajar daripada Universiti Teknikal Malaysia Melaka. Saya telah menyertai program mobility di UTM dan telah ditempatkan di IBI Dharmajaya. Sepanjang pengalaman saya di sini, saya telah mendapat banyak pengalaman. Antaranya adalah saya dapat mengenali budaya dan makanan di sini. Sebagai contoh, budaya yang saya dapat lihat sendiri ialah majlis perkahwinan. Selain itu, makanan tradisional yang telah saya cuba ialah seperti nasi padang. Di Indonesia ada juga nasi padang tapi rasanya berbeza. Tak seperti di sini. Rasanya lebih enak dan harga lebih berpatutan. Selain daripada itu, saya juga ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada pensyarah-pensyarah yang ada di IBI Dharmajaya. Mereka telah mengajar kami dengan cukup baik walaupun kami ini bukannya orang Indonesia, kami pelajar luar. Terima kasih lecturer yang ada di IBI Dharmajaya. Selain itu, terima kasih jugalah untuk pelajar-pelajar lokal yang telah membantu kami banyak dalam pelbagai hal. Contohnya mereka telah memberi tahu kami tentang wisata-wisata yang menarik yang ada di Lampung seperti Bukit Sakura. Itu merupakan satu pengalaman yang cukup baik. Selain daripada itu, IBI juga telah membantu saya untuk meningkatkan skill communication. Kerana di IBI bukan hanya pelajar daripada Malaysia tetapi ada juga pelajar daripada Thailand, Kenya, Uganda dan sebagainya. Maka dari situ bukan sahaja kami dapat mengenali pelajar Indonesia tetapi pelajar daripada Afrika dan sekitar Asia Tenggara. Terima kasih IBI Dharmajaya untuk peluang ini. Dharmajaya the best.
Langkahkan kaki, gapai semua impianmu. terus berinovasi untuk membangun negeri.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun, selamat datang di kampus Dharma Jaya dengan visi menjadi perguruan tinggi pembelajaran unggul berbasis riset dan teknologi informasi. Izinkan kami membantu mewujudkan mimpi dan harapan untuk mencapai masa depan yang lebih baik.
Dharma Jaya, kampus terbaik untuk semua. Dharma Jaya, pilihan untuk kamu.
Tes.
Sambutlah masa depanmu yang cerah bersama kami. IIP Dharma Jaya.
Iya.
Kampus terbaik untuk semua. Dharma Jaya, pilihan untuk Anda. Sambutlah masa depanmu yang cerah bersama kami. IIP Dharma Jaya. Langkahkan kaki, gapai semua impianmu. Terus berinovasi untuk membangun negeri. IIP Dharma Jaya, kampus yang paling unggul dalam ilmu teknologi dan juga bisnis. Menghasilkan lulusan yang terbaik, berkarakter, berkompeten dan juga bermutu.
Aku nggak ini loh, nggak absen.
Whom we are waiting for.
B. Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya pastinya. Mau tahu apa aja keunggulannya? Pertama, perkuliahan dilakukan hybrid learning dengan learning management system. Kedua, kamu juga berkesempatan kuliah di luar negeri loh, seperti di Malaysia, China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Rusia, dan masih banyak lagi. Ketiga, kuliah di Dharma Jaya itu serasa kuliah di luar negeri loh. Keempat, event tingkat nasional selalu digelar di Dharma Jaya loh. Ada Festival Film Mahasiswa Indonesia, Festival Film Lampung, dan ada juga Kejurnas Pencaksilat. Kelima, kampus di Lampung dengan tenaga pengajar doktor terbanyak. Keenam, entrepreneur muda lahir di sini. Yuk daftar, untuk info pendaftaran ada di bawah ini.
Selamat sore semuanya.
Nama saya Obed Nahayo, saya berasal dari Rwanda, Afrika. Saya kuliah di Universitas Erlangga Surabaya. Saya di IIB Dharma Jaya sebagai international student, ambil magang international student internship. Pertama kali saya masuk di IIB Dharma Jaya, saya merasa seperti setiap hari itu aneh karena semua orang baru, lingkungan baru, setiap hari di sini baru. Tapi setelah beberapa jam atau beberapa hari, saya sudah merasa seperti saya sudah dapat keluarga kedua. Di sini saya sudah partisipasi dalam beberapa atau banyak aktivitas atau kegiatan dari kampus, di luar kampus, di kelas, di international fees, di WP, di mana saja di kampus ini saya sudah partisipasi dalam banyak kegiatan. If I use English, I have participated in many activities here, which made me gain more experience, more knowledge and skills. I have got many advice, many input, many add-on from people who have experience in teaching and working in offices, in managing international relations problems or activities. So I have got many experiences. I participated in daily activities, international office and Warung Perancis or French corner. I went in many different places. We went on field trips at Pelindo or Port of Panjang. I got many knowledge from there about human resources and digital transformation. As the organization, they are using many digital activities to make them very successful and competent. I participated in
Langkahkan kaki, gapai semua impianmu. Terus berinovasi untuk membangun negeri.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun, selamat datang di kampus Dharma Jaya dengan visi menjadi perguruan tinggi pembelajaran unggul berbasis riset dan teknologi informasi. Izinkan kami membantu mewujudkan mimpi dan harapan untuk mencapai masa depan yang lebih baik.
Dharma Jaya, kampus terbaik untuk semua. Dharma Jaya, pilihan untuk kamu. Sambutlah masa depan yang cerah bersama kami di IIB Dharma Jaya. Dharma Jaya, kampus terbaik untuk semua. Dharma Jaya, pilihan untuk Anda. Sambutlah masa depan yang cerah bersama kami di IIB Dharma Jaya. Langkahkan kaki, gapai semua impianmu. Terus berinovasi untuk membangun negeri. Kampus yang paling unggul dalam ilmu teknologi dan juga bisnis. Menghasilkan lulusan yang terbaik.
All of audience, we are about to begin and follow this opening ceremony. And I would like to greet our honorable guests as well. The Honorable Director of Research and Technology for Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education, the Honorable Head of Higher Education Service Institutions of Southern Sumatra, Region 2 Palembang, the Honorable Boards and Member of APCAME Region 2 Bandar Lampung, the Honorable Chairmen of Alfian Hussein Foundations, the Honorable Chairmen of Foundations Board of Trustees, the Honorables of Rector IIB Dharma Jaya, the Honorable Vice Rectors and Deans of IIB Dharma Jaya, the Honorable Keynote Speakers of the first APCAME seminar, the Honorable all guests. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya pun.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first Asia Pacific Conference on Accounting, Management, and Economic APCAME, with the title is Technological Innovations as a Strategic Movement for Business Challenges and Opportunities in Society 5.0. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for presenting this seminar, and allow me to lead our praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His grace and blessing upon us. We also do not forget to commend our compliment to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whom are waiting for his salvation. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Ladies and gentlemen, to make sure this event run well, let's open this event by reciting lafaz basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The next session is to sing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya, please. Now, to get the blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, let's pray to Him, and it will be led by Ustadz Suratno, SPDI MH. Screen is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma shalli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Syakirin hamdan yu'afi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazida. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultani. Allahumma ighfir lana dhunubana wa li walidayna warhamhuma kama rabbayana shighara. Wa li jamil muslimin wal muslimat wal mu'minin wal mu'minat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat. Ya qadil hajat innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman Rahim, the beneficent and the merciful, we do deserve and the duty which is for help. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman Rahim, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Manan, Ya Dzal Jalali wal Ikram. I pray for you that please exchange the knowledge and please favor we with the light of comprehension. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman Rahim, please favor we by the light of understanding and bring we out of darkness. Please open the doors of knowledge. Amin. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Rabbana aral haqqa haqqa warzuqna tiba'ah. Wa aral batila batila warzuqna istinabah. Rabbana ya Allah atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Fatrika subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun. Wassalamun al mursalin. Walhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Ustadz, and we hope that through the prayer we can get grateful from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Next, let's listen to welcoming speech will be delivered by Head of Research and Community Service Affairs IIB Dharma Jaya. I'd like to invite Ibu Dr. Sri Lestari. Screen is yours.
Thank you for the Jen Mistria. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Head of National Higher Education Institution, Region 2, Prof. Yuliansa, PhD, Academic. Dear Rector, Institute of Informatik and Business Dharma Jaya, Insinyur Firmansyah, MBA, MSc. Dear Representasi Rektor 1, Institute of Informatik and Business Dharma Jaya, Bapak Arsyad Abdul Aziz, PhD. Dear all keynote speakers who have been willing to share knowledge at this conference, and all participants and committee who we respect. As we give our praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, let us remember good health and energy give to all of us in carrying out the international conference activity in collaboration with LLDAKTA and the Institute of Informatik and Business Dharma Jaya. The salawat and greeting for all of us, the latest to the great prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hopefully someday we will receive the blessing from him. The first Asia Pacific Conference on Accounting, Management and Economic with the topic Technological Innovation as a Strategy Movement for Business Challenges and Opportunities in the Society 5.0 is the conference organized by LLDAKTA and AAP Dharma Jaya. This conference became a forum for communication and discussion between the academic community and stakeholders related to the development of strategic model of challenge and innovation opportunity for accounting, management, and economic development in the new normal era. In addition, it also introduce the research result from the academic community throughout the world and consider a source of innovation-based competitive advantage to the digital business world. Furthermore, it also provides an understanding on the new normal era during the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on life as work in Indonesia to the academic community and its stakeholders. We truly support this conference because it is one of the pillars on the education Dharma. The research that become an interesting discussion forum that will be beneficial for nation and the country. This conference hopefully can be continuously carried out because it is regarded as the place where the high-quality papers are becoming state of the art of the technological development in Indonesia. We also thank LLDAKTA for the trusting us the partner to carry out this conference. Furthermore, we apologize if there are shortcomings in serving and providing the best service in this conference. We hope that the conference speaker who have submitted the paper will be able to continue and publish the research in reputable journal. That's all I can see. And the end. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Ibu for the speech. The next session is welcoming speech that will be delivered by Rector of Institute of Informatics and Business Dharma Jaya, and it will be delegated to Bapak RZ Abdul Aziz, ST, MT, PhD. Screen is yours.
Izin Pak Rektor. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Morning, good bless us, Tabipun. Honorable Director of Research and Technology of Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education, the Honorable Head of Higher Education Service Institution of Southern Sumatra, Professor Yuliansa, the Honorable Member of Region 2 Bandar Lampung, Honorable Chair Rector Institute Informatika and Business Dharma Jaya, the Honorable Chairman of Foundation Board, Honorable Vice Rector, the Honorable Dean of IB Dharma Jaya for Economic and Business and Computer Science, the Honorable Speaker and Presenter of the Asia Pacific Conference on Accounting, Management and Economic, the Honorable of Guests. Ladies and gentlemen, we present praise and gratitude for the presence of the Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His mercy and guidance to all of us, so that we can carry out together in the international conference. Also, of praise and compliment should be commended to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whom we are waiting for his salvation, inshallah. Ladies and gentlemen, all innovation currently being carried out of the provide confidence to the public in running economic and business safely and easily to reduce the risk loss due to administration costs, fraud and transmission of the COVID-19. Almost all the social and economic activity are carried online. Payment are now made by simply handing by code as electric merchant and avoiding physical contact in the banking area. However, various innovations have been carried out to provide the opportunity, the implementation, society 5.0, support the industrial revolution 4.0. Ladies and gentlemen, applied science, discovery, and innovation in a university can be used as the basis for economic innovation. Therefore, university, government, and society must have framework, a long-term cooperation and partnership to accumulate scientific discovery, sustainability, and dynamically. I hope that we be able to improve to support the quality and innovation with accounting, management, and economic from this activity. Also, we hope that is an effort to increase community competitiveness in industrial 4.0 toward the society 5.0. Ladies and gentlemen, during the COVID-19 pandemic, almost all sectors are facing decline. The number of businesses that closed and reduced
had an impact on the high employment and poverty rate. Although this condition is a momentum for scale to utilization technology in marketing product, delivering good and service, assessing market expansion to younger generation of only called millennial. This is caused by the rapid process and technology transmission. Ladies and gentlemen, the government and university must be presently overcoming the problem with optimizing the digital economy, both accounting and management. Nowadays, there are still many transactions in the public must be digitized, such as a parking transaction, following a gas station, paying motorcycle tickets, and another. Thus, there is necessary to prepare digital payment system, facility, and infrastructure in traditional market. The innovation will have a very good impact on transaction efficiency in the community. And we hope that this international seminar can provide many benefits as we can get a learning model of economic development in the community that can adapt the technology development and the development of society. Ladies and gentlemen, Institut Informatika and Bisnis Dharma Jaya can be this is an intellectual activity. So it's a need to be the main driver in the development of digital business and technology of the millennial in Lampung and Indonesia in general. We have also trying to implement the Dharma higher education, which require intellectual for free content, but both input, process, and output. However, university have the number of intellectual work produced by student and lecturer. Ladies and gentlemen, before closing this speech, let me congratulate you and implementation the international conference, first Asia Pacific Conference on Accounting, Management, and Economy. Technology innovation as a strategy movement for business challenge and opportunity in society 5.0. Finally, we hope like to confuse and excuse for the mistakes I had in speech. Thank you very much for your kindness and patience. I closing this speech, we can open this seminar by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This international conference, Asia Pacific of Accounting, Management, and Economic. The topic technology innovation as a strategy movement for business challenge and opportunity in society 5.0 open. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Bapak for the astonishing speech. Then I'd like to invite Head of Higher Education Service Institutions of Southern Sumatra, L2 Dikti, for a welcoming speech. To Professor Juliansah, PSD AKT, screen is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To Honorable Rector of Institute Informatik and Business Dharma Jaya, keynote speaker of the conference, presenter, participants of the conference, the community of the conference. Thank you very much. We say for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that we can happily meet in good event. That is the first Asia Pacific Conference on Accounting, Management, and Economic in collaboration with Institut Informatik and Business Dharma Jaya, LL Dikti Region 2, APC Region 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on behalf of the head of Agency for Higher Education Service in Region 2, as we say as LL Dikti Area 2 in southern part of Sumatra, which cover 4 provinces, including Province Lampung, South Sumatra, Bengkulu, Bangka Island, get mandate from Minister Education and Culture to increase quality in education. As we know that lecturer has a significant role as being stated in 3 Dharma perguruan tinggi, including teaching, doing research, and servicing in community. In order to achieve ultimate career, lecturer should do research. With these activities, lecturer not only contribute to academic and practice knowledge, but it's also help them to increase their career. One of a way to socialize the research contribution is by doing or attending the conference to sharing their finding. It is not debatable that one of the most problem for lecturer in his career is in research. Let's say research contribution take very long time for them to achieve their career. So this conference is one of solution for them to faster their way to boost their career. We are in LDT are very welcome and thank to Institute Information and Business Dharma Jaya as a host of the conference. I hope we can generate positive atmosphere for lecturer and higher education to increase both quality and quantity of the research contribution. Before I close the greeting, I would like to announce that we still have another 10 conference in this year. So all of you can join other conference and share this information to others. In addition, we have many activities to increase lecture quality, and you can see and visit LLDT web and Instagram for further information. Stay healthy and enjoy the conference. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Bapak for the great speech we got today. And then finally, we are in closing sessions. And let's close the opening ceremony by reciting lafaz hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony had already done. I would like to convey and excuse the mistake I had in my speech. Thank you very much for your kind attention and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for all guest lecturer. Terima kasih banyak Prof. Yuliansah dan semua attendance yang bisa hadir.
Melepas pandangan ke depan, gugusan pulau-pulau di lautan, luas membentang ciptaan Tuhan, anugerah yang indah bagi semesta.
Hutan, rimba, sawah dan pegunungan tak pernah lelah beri kehidupan. Ragam budaya bergenggaman tangan, penuh pesona raih kejayaan.
Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera, pesona indah harus selalu dijaga. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera, bersama kita pariwisata berjaya. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera.
Hutan, rimba, sawah dan pegunungan
Tak pernah lelah beri kehidupan.
ragam budaya bergenggaman tangan,
Berpesona raih kejayaan. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera, pesona indah harus selalu dijaga. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera, bersama kita pariwisata berjaya. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera, pesona indah harus selalu dijaga. Lampung, the treasure of Sumatera, berjaya untuk Indonesia.
Hello, my name is Labuhan. My Indonesian name is Budi. Why I choose Dharma Jaya for the Mahasiswa program? Because Dharma Jaya is one of the partners of my university in Vietnam, the University of Economic and Laws. So I want to be
research. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to give very big applause to L2 Dikti and Dharma Jaya. Ladies and gentlemen, Alibaba, Facebook, Zalora, Shopee, and much more make buying products and services are increasingly digitally taken via the internet or a search engine. So easy, anytime, anywhere. But on the other hand, customers receive a lot of information about a product and sometimes get confused in sorting it out. This triggers situations where people are required to look beyond the information available to them. To discuss about this, we have an expert from the Department of Financial Management, Chengxiu University, Taiwan, Dr. Yu Lin. Yu Lin is currently working in the Department of Financial Management, Chengxiu University, Taiwan, indeed. He received a Bachelor of Science in Finance from National Chengxing University, also in Taiwan. And for the Master of Business Administration, he got from University of South Carolina, United States of America. And for doctoral degree, he got from National Sun Yat-sen University, also in Taiwan. Right now, he also holds professional membership of American Marketing Association, Academy of Marketing Science, European Marketing Academy, and Association of Consumer Research. Hello, Dr. Yu Lin, are you here with me right now?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. 早上好，你好吗？ Oh, my pronunciation are correct.
Yes, you are.
I
You
try very
pronounce
hard
correctly.
try to pronounce that word, but this is correct, like right. Good morning. How are you? Okay. So what I remember the most from the daughter of Chengxiu's president, when Mr. Fimansyah, rector of IBI Dharma Jaya, and I met her, the daughter of president, in 2016, was she said that Chengxiu and Dharma Jaya can be sister university because we have so much in common. So please pass our regard to her.
Thank you.
Okay. So I know we can call you Paul, right?
Yes, yes.
Not necessarily Dr. Yu Lin, but I think Paul is more friendly. Okay. So Paul, you have 20 minutes to deliver your work about all those things, issues. So the screen is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I don't think I have the permission to share my screen.
Okay, let me ask the committee to give you the permission. Okay, so I think they are still working about it now. So just wait, be patient, be with us.
Okay.
Okay. So it is interesting topic indeed, because we talk about right now, everything are available online.
Yes.
When we like log in to one marketplace and read the information. Okay, now it's working. Okay, I should move. This is like TV studio right now, so I should follow the director instruction where I should see the screen. So it is amazing that when we log into such maybe one or two marketplace, and then we read the information available there, we got so much information. Sometimes it makes us feel overwhelmed. We don't know which one we should trust. So hopefully what you are doing right now, what you want to share with us right now, can give us a bit of information which one we should trust and which information we should trust. Because like people, they say good, another people say this is bad, some people give 5 stars, but maybe some other give 1 star to a certain product. So
Yes.
this is very
This is
okay.
called
So
credibility of information. Okay, I think.
Okay, can you do it right now?
Yes, I see my.
Okay, I think let me ask. So can he share the screen? Okay, yeah. The committee said you can share the screen right now. Okay.
I don't have. This is my slides, but I don't
okay,
have.
So would you mind if we share the screen on your behalf?
Yes, and I might need.
Okay, sure. So can you see the your poll?
Yeah, but I might need.
Okay.
I want to go to the next page. Yeah.
Okay. If you want to move to the next slide, could you please give me a sign?
Okay, I will say.
Or you can say next.
Slide, please. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Lin. Talk about control level theory in marketing. So, Paul, time is yours. 20 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. This is Paul Lin from Taiwan, and good morning to you all, fellow researchers from all over the world. And I want to talk about theory. This might be not quite that you were expected, but the reason why I'm talking about this is during my research, I found that a lot of empirical researchers, they lack a really good theoretical background. In case of theory, why is it important? I think most of us know why it's important, because if you look at the slides, the first point is a good theory has a very good external generalizability, means that it could be applicable to many aspects. So if you read a good research paper in your mind that, oh, I agree with that, then it is a good research. The reason why I'm talking about this is the one theory I prefer a lot, and the one I have used a few times before, is the control level theory. And I want to introduce this theory to you because I think if you are interested in marketing, a trending theory that you can think about. So what is the control level theory? I will talk about it later, but right now let's talk about the age of the theory. We know that there are many theories before. Some are really old, maybe even older than all of us. And please go the previous slide. Thank you. Yes. So some of the older theories that it is good to use, but not quite amazing or interesting. If you want to go to a good journal or publish in a really nice conferences, so there's one thing about the old theory is sometimes old theories could be used, but they are under some circumstances. For example, like what I listed in this slide. Maybe there are technological advancement or methodological improvement So good theory could be tested in a different way. But this might not happen that much. So usually we will look at the conference or the journals and we will want to know what are the new streams of research. So I have few examples of the new streams of research like sharing economy, for example, like Uber or Airbnb, or digital marketing like the one used by Google, Facebook, or Amazon. So I think most of us doing research because we want to get the results published. So from the aspects of the journal reviewers and practitioners, what are the good research and what are bad ones? I think the good ones are that most people agree. And if you want to looking for a research that most people agree, then you might need a theory because a theory is the thing or the phenomenon that most people agree. And this is in marketing, but for your information, control level theory is talking about how human process information. So I will give you a few example about what control level theory is and how it is done. I don't think it's only applicable to marketing. It could be applied to many different aspects or fields. I'm thinking about a project that control level theory might be applicable to education. Okay, so next slide, please. Next slides, please. Yes. In short, control level theory talks about how human beings process information. And when we process information, it usually comes in two modes. We either use low control level or high control level. The low control level means that we tend to focus on concrete information. And for those with show psychological distance, I will talk about this later. And we will focus on the emotion aspect of the things, and we will focus on tangible, and we'll focus on shape. It might seem a little bit weird, but try to think about this. There's when we think about eating lunch, which is a few hours later, some people might be thinking about lunch as a food that can conquer your feelings of hunger. And other people might think eating lunch is enjoyment of a really delicious meal. So this is two different aspects of thinking. If you think a meal is just a conquer for hunger, then you don't have many information about that. You just eating something that you don't make you feel hungry. But if you're looking for a gustatory enjoyment, then you might need a really good place or a really uh, carefully prepared meal. So this is a two levels of thinking, okay? And this comes in many aspects. But previously we talked about digital marketing, and there are many informations on the digital world that we tend to ignore, and we don't know which one to trust. And that is when control level theory comes into our mind, because if you are information overloading, which means that you are exposed to too many informations, this is the time when you are most likely to use low control level, because there are just too much and you cannot take everything serious. Okay, next slides, please. Here I have prepared some researches regarding control level theories, and those papers are all from really good marketing journals. And I'm showing this diagram to let you know that how and what aspects could control level theory related to. So the first one on the upper hand is language abstraction. Language abstraction means how we write things, especially on the internet. This one is basically done for researches regarding to electronic word of mouth or e-one, if some of you are interested. So if you, the online user are writing reviews on Google, something like the platforms or uh, like electronic platforms, they might need to carefully think about how they are going to write. For example, like they can write abstractly. They can say, this is a really good machine. I like it very, very much. And they can write it concretely. For example, like this machine is very solid and it has very powerful functions, which means that if you're writing the review and you're giving them details, the details are related to control level theory because details are low control level. Okay. On the left-hand side is visual perceptions. How we process information is even related to how we process visual informations. For example, this paper shows that shape and color are two different control levels. And on the left-hand side is coping strategies. Coping strategy means how we deal with problems, okay? There are two main ways of dealing with problem. One is emotion focused and the other way is problem focused. I don't know if you have a similar experience with me that sometimes people are in difficulties. They really don't need solutions to that problem. What they need is emotional comfort. But other people they might need less emotional comfort, but they do really need the solutions to that problem. So there are two different ways when we cope with difficulties. And how we cope with that difficulties is actually reflecting what our control levels are. Okay? And on the lower side is service attributes. Service attributes actually talking about how we evaluate a service. In this paper, they use things like travel agencies or restaurants. Okay, take out my personal experience that when I go to a place to eat, or you can think when you go to a place to eat, how you evaluate which place you are going. If you focus on the reputation or the ratings of that place, then you might be high control level because service ratings and reviews are high control level, but they are more abstract. But if you're looking for if you focus on how good the place looks like, or how many people are in that place eating, then you might be processing the information with a low control level. Okay, but in this article, they said that when I'm going to a place to eat, I can be focusing on tangible attributes. Tangible attributes means the physical experience, and I can either focus on the intangible attributes like the reputation of that place. Okay, so these are the papers I might be talking about, and I think I don't have a lot of time right now, but because I have only 7 or 5 minutes left, so I will skip few of the things and I will go to the one that I think the most excited. So please, next, until I call stop. Okay, next one, please. Next one, thank you. Next one, more. Okay, this one. The previous slides. Thank you. The previous one. Thank you. Previous one. The previous page. Thank you. Next one. Next one. Okay, stop here. Stop here. Thank you. We can focus on this one right now, and I think they might be useful if all of you are interested in marketing, or even if you are even for your writing of the paper. This one talks about sorry, language abstraction. It mainly based on the research that the first one, humans are prone to imitating each other in social interaction, even in writing. So if you are reading a paper that is abstractly written, and you may write abstracted later. And this applies to online reviews, which is also E1. And so what CLT could be useful in here is that if you look at the slides, they say thinking at the low levels of control, which means that you are thinking concretely. It means that you are focusing on details, peripheral, and secondary features. And for other control levels, the high control levels, you're focusing on the essence, central, and the primary features. So the level of mental controls affect the attitudes and the behavior of the reader towards the sender. And the level of detail in the private review affect the credibility of such products. I want to mention this is because we were talking about the credibility of online information and how to increase the credibility of online information. I would think, I don't think all of the research, but most of the research I have read talk about the detail, which means that if you increase the detail of your writing and you increase your credibility. This is quite intuitive because when we are writing papers, we need a lot of references, which is details. Okay. So details increase the credibility of products, yes, but this paper talk about sometimes details might not be that useful for other services. Look at the last point of this slide. A really good point that you may want to know about is we mimic others' behavior in social interaction, but also in writing style. So if you read online review that is mainly focused on detail, then you might respond your reviews in details. And if you accumulate that, you will see that online reviews influence each other. Okay, next slide, please. Next one. Next one. This is too complicated. I don't have that much time. Okay, here. So the results of this paper is that the language abstractions are contagious because people match others' writing style. Okay, and the balance of the reviews will influence and the effect of the language abstraction is okay. The effect of a language abstraction is previous concrete review will result in higher agreement, which is intuitive. If you want people to agree with you, you must write concretely. Better articulate. I have 2 more minutes, right? Next slides, please. Okay, so I would need to put more on psychological distance because that's the one major aspect of control level theory. Psychological distance refers to social distance. For example, like people close to us is short psychological distance, and people we know but we didn't talk that much is a long psychological distance. So, for example, if you hear a recommendation from people really close to you, then this is when you are processing that information with low control level. Okay. So, high and low control level, you can know a lot of to relate it to, and maybe in your aspect of in your interest of research, you can how control level could be applicable to your field. Okay, I think we have a questions and answers session later, and I will leave the slides to you. And if you have any questions, we will discuss about that later. And I think my 20 minutes are up, so I will end it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Share. So much. That's very interesting theory. For all the participants that wish to deliver some questions to Paul, please wait. We will have all the speakers talk first. Then later on, you can throw your questions. So before we continue to the next speakers, let me say hi to our co-hosts, MDB University and Institute Technology and Business Lembah Depo. Oh, I'm sorry, Lembah Dempo. And to all participants, we have friends from Malang, Palangkaraya, Udayana, Yogyakarta, Nigeria, Semarang, Philippines, Palembang, Pekalongan, and more. Hello, everyone. I wish you all good health.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
See you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, blockchain technology has far-reaching applications across many industries and already used to facilitate identity management, smart contracts, supply chain analysis, and much more. But full potential of blockchain technology likely remains to be discovered. It is predicted by 2026, the business value added by blockchain technology will grow to just over 360 billion US dollar. That's huge money, very, very huge. To talk about what is blockchain, its value, the view from both sides of academic and industry, and the benefit. Here we have Dr. Patrick McCrudden from University of the West of England, UE. Hello, Patrick. Are you with me right now?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry, but I cannot see you. Where are you?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, you are here. Now I can see you.
Good morning to everybody.
Good morning. So, you know, Patrick, when they told me that one of the speakers is from UE, I suddenly remembered the time when I had wonderful breakfast at the glass boat in the Avon riverbank.
Correct.
It was during winter, years ago, when UE and Dharma Jaya signed the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement. The view was remarkably breathtaking. So I hope that you can have same experiences when the pandemic is over, you can visit Indonesia. And
yes, I look forward to that.
Beautiful, yeah, and have beautiful breakfast here. Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Dr. Patrick has over 3 decades of business experiences and a wealth of real-life marketable expertise, possessing a hands-on participant leadership style and transferable skill set. Over the last 25 years, Patrick's career has taken him to multiple countries, such as China and Philippines. So you travel a lot, Patrick. So Patrick, you have 20 minutes to speak about blockchain. This is very new technology for some of us. So time is yours. Remember, 20 minutes only. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please.
Excellent. Well, a warm welcome, especially from the University of West England. I'd like to start today, if you could go to the next slide, please.
Yes.
This is a little bit about me, my career background and what I've been doing over the past 30 years. Predominantly, I'm a global value chain specialist. So large multinationals would employ people like myself to introduce value. This is where we make money in supply chain. And I'm a member of different bodies, specifically around Europe and the USA. So the next slide, please. So quite often when we hear the words blockchain, often they're separated, predominantly it's one word, we identify with this thing called cryptocurrency. So unfortunately, blockchain has a bit of a dark side or dark element to it. But I want to avoid that and take you to what could be a very promising, positive element for some organizations. So I'm going to explain the visions behind blockchain within a supply chain dynamic. However, I am also going to present to you today some of the negatives. Although I'm very proactive for blockchain in fresh food supply chains, I'm very cautious about the power shift into the global value chain, meaning the retailers will all of a sudden have a lot more power. And I'll explain that today. Next slide, please. So I'm going to tell you today what the industry direction is. As I said, I've already put my cards on the table, as it were. I'm a very proactive blockchain advocate, predominantly in fresh food supply chains. I'm very concerned about other types of supply chains. Do we really need it? That ultimately be the question that I will leave you with today. Do we really need it? I'm going to explain what a smart contract is. And it's not that smart, I can tell you. It's just a buzzword which has been adopted within the chain. And I'm going to demystify that today. What are the benefits from value? What are the barriers to blockchain for suppliers? And what type of practical adoption is there? What are the financial barriers in engaging in blockchain, not only for the suppliers, but for the retailers? And ultimately, will you and I, the consumer, will we gain or will we be penalized when we shop in an organization that has adopted a blockchain? Some areas which are very big in blockchain are the wine industries worldwide. Other areas are... I'm sorry, is somebody talking?
Silakan bayar sejumlah biaya yang dianjurkan. Nah, itu dia tulisannya. Kami takut deh kalau tidak pakai. Dia cak itu tes pendaftarannya itu cak itu, makanya kami belum daftar. Kata kami yang jelas banget. Yang lain-lain dikasih tahu Mbak duit itu.
Am I still talking? Or...
So I'm sorry, I want to unmute.
Video kabarnya.
Okay. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to just briefly introduce blockchain for beginners, as it were. And I'd like to start by saying blockchain is not that difficult. Blockchain is a series of linear records. That's all it is. Think of it as a ledger which is visible to everybody. An organization has its own ledger. It keeps its own accounts. A blockchain is potentially visible if it's a public ledger, but it's not visible if it's a hyperledger, right? So actors within a blockchain, they are supplying or sharing their records or their ledger to everybody else. That if it's public. But if the blockchain is a hyperledger, that means it's a private blockchain. And this is potentially where supply chain is going, meaning if you're a retailer and you have a series of suppliers, you lock them into a chain. No one can see what's going on, only you can. You can share what's going on to everyone in the chain, as we call stakeholders, but you can limit what each stakeholder sees or is aware of, right? You can change, you can introduce any information onto a blockchain, right? Each block is encrypted. This is what makes it unique. As the information is encrypted from block 1, the encryption key is the opening key for block 2. When block 2 is encrypted, the encryption key at the bottom is the opening encryption key for block 3. That's what makes it very, very secure. And the ledger is distributed across the block to everyone who's involved with it, right? Now, it's a series of unchangeable records. Once the block is encrypted, that's it. Anyone changes any information in that block, it will affect the continuing blocks themselves, right? So stakeholders who are part of the block, they need to all have a digital ID to agree to each block being updated. Right? This is the tracking and processing associated, ensuring accountability to everyone who's within this set of data blocks. Blockchain is immutable. It means the data is unchangeable. And this is where the security comes in. And we say a blockchain which is closed is a hyperledger. And this is where large institutions are moving forward to have a private blockchain as a hyperledger. Now, I briefly mentioned a terminology called smart contracts. They're not that smart. Smart contract is a series of instructions that are agreed throughout the delivery process. And at some stages, there might be a payment that's agreed. So if rice is delivered from the farmer to the rice mill, a smart contract might be in place that says the farmer will be paid 50% of the payment or 100% of the payment. The problem is at the minute, globally, smart contracts are not legally binding. So I don't like calling them smart contracts, but that's the terminology. They're really a set of predetermined instructions, right? Next slide, please. So here we have IBM. They've invested a huge amount of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, into the development of a hyperledger, a private, unique structure of blockchain. It's called SaaS. It's software as a service. And this is directed at large retailers such as Walmart, Carrefour, Tesco's, Kroger's in the USA, etc. And fundamentally, they're targeting these large organizations, these global supply chains, because these chains are vast. They transact over many time barriers and distance barriers. So multinationals are very keen to save as much money as 100 billion in efficiencies, but it's not as easy as that. Some of the difficulties that I'm going to show today should be a wait and see approach, and definitely they should bring a little bit of fear into the consumer's mindset that the retailer is going to have too much power. Blockchain is a technology. It's been around for many, many years. But because of the association with crypto, it's ended up having a bit of a bad rap. people are avoiding it. The second thing is it costs a lot of money for any organization to engage in blockchain, whether it's a blockchain public, blockchain hyperledger, it's the purchase of new equipment, IoT, Internet of Things. A blockchain requires 2 sets of data to be inputted immediately, and these are done by people, eyes on the ground, which are certified through a blockchain key, and secondly through Internet of Things, which is live data which is processed on a regular basis. A regular basis could be every 1 minute the temperature is checked in the room. And an Internet of Things could be checking delivery schedules, time, leaving one area, how long it's taken to get to another pickup drop-off zone, which route did they take, is it IoT connected to a GPS, what was the temperature in the truck, who was the truck driver, was the truck driver going too fast or too slow, how long did it take to load and unload. So this is what blockchain demands. It's a constant supply of data. At key areas of the data point, humans must be involved with a human identity code, right? Which I'll talk about a little bit later when I talk about the codes. So blockchain needs 2 types of data, which are visible by individuals and confirmed by individuals, and Internet of Things devices. Now, this is very important from my perspective because we demand safety in our food supply chains. We demand that the lettuces, for example, have gone through safe treatment processes, that they haven't been in a large hot area and then a cold area. We demand that frozen food is frozen at point of freezing, hasn't been defrosted and refrozen again. So for me, blockchain in a fresh food supply chain or food supply chain, which is dry or frozen, for me, I think that's the way forward. But the difficulties are, I also see a shifting in buyer power to the retailers. The retailers don't want to be responsible for paying for these upgrades. So they're going to push those expenses up the supply chain to the suppliers. So if you're a farmer and you're growing vegetables up the supply chain and Walmart say to you, okay, now if you want to sell carrots to us, you have to invest $50,000 in a blockchain system, which includes Internet of Things, devices, hiring of staff, training people to understand the technology and to follow through and to connect to our blockchain because we're Walmart, you might not have that type of investment. Right. So these are some of the downsides which I foresee happening very, very quickly. Next slide, please. So here what we're looking at is a standard supply chain. You've got the food producers, you've got traders, processors, intermediaries, retailers, and right through the consumer. That's just a brief understanding of what a supply chain is. A blockchain is the same thing, only it sees everyone in the chain as a visible stakeholder, meaning the consumer can be directly visible to the food producer, directly. However, there are controls in place where even if it is a blockchain system, the initiator of the chain, which in this case will be the retailer can decide how much the consumer sees. The consumer might see information about the product and where the product is produced, but might not be able to contact the producer directly, right? Often when you go to a retail shop, if you want to buy a sandwich, let's say a cheese sandwich in a retail shop, you don't know who's produced the bread, you don't know who produced the cheese, but you do know what the processing company is called, who's made the sandwich, right? When we look at a blockchain scenario, you will find out where the cheese came from, who made the bread, where the ingredients came from, when the bread was made. So there's a lot more information which is produced and relayed on the blockchain. And this information is shared. But remember, it's the retailer who initiates the blockchain who dictates how much information is shared to the consumer and how much the suppliers can share each information to as well, right, between each other. Why is that? Retailers are powerful because they have strong supply chains. The difference between a weak retailer and a strong retailer is the power and security of the supply chain. Suppliers need to be contracted. Suppliers follow contractual laws and contractual regulations, and retailers don't want to share that information. So they dictate how much information is shared across the blockchain, but they retain all the information which is produced. Next slide, please.
Hello, Patrick. This is
Yes.
Romania. I just want to remind you that you only have 5 minutes left.
Yes, I'm on a timer. Let me continue. Thank you. So this slide here, I'm going to take you through the 10 stages of a standard blockchain. I'm going to use Walmart. Walmart has initiated the blockchain, meaning they've encoded the chain, and they've announced to everyone involved in the chain terms of using a QR code. We're going to buy honey. Walmart has ordered a container of honey. It consists of roughly 36 jars of honey per box, 48 boxes per pallet, and 20 pallets to fit into a container. That gives us 34,560 jars of honey. Now, everyone involved in the supply chain with the QR code is the people who manufacture the glass jars for the honey, the labels for the honey, the box for the honey, shipment instructions, transportation instructions, and last will be to inform Walmart's accounting that a PO has been opened and at some future point, honey will be paid for, right? So that information is deployed on the chain. Once the farmer receives the PO and the ID of the blockchain, he or she will go and start producing the honey. As the honey is being collected, the farmer will ping the blockchain with the farmer ID. The Internet of Things device will connect the date, the time, and the temperature of the honey as it's being brought into the production facility. The Internet of Things devices, and there will be many, will regulate and continuously check the temperature every 1 minute. As the honey is going through the processing machine, meaning the honey is placed into the jars, the Internet of Things will check the time and date, the temperature, and the speed of the processing, right? As each block, meaning as each pallet of 48 boxes of honey, which consists of 38 honey jars, as each pallet is completed, the line supervisor will have to make a visual confirmation using their blockchain identification. During this entire order, when the entire 20 pallets is completed, the blockchain ID is then transferred from the supervisor across to the warehouse supervisor. That means there is a shipment command instructed. The shipment will then either be by ship itself or by a truck. They will announce through the chain that the truck is going to arrive at such and such a time, probably within a 2-hour period. The truck's temperature, time, delivery date is all matched on the chain, and also the arrival time of the truck is noted on the chain at the warehouse pickup point. The Internet of Things devices on the truck and in the warehouse will time the loading of the truck, making sure the temperatures are met. Now, once the truck leaves, there could be a smart contract in place that says once the honey is on the truck, the honey farmer is going to receive full payment. That could be a requirement. However, another example of a smart contract could be that Walmart introduces a temperature red zone level, and they could denote that at any time during the production, if the temperature of the honey exceeded a certain temperature or went into the red zone for a certain period of time, let's say for 1 minute, the smart contract would refuse to allow that honey to continue to enter the supply chain because the Internet of Things has identified a red zone. Now, that would be checked by a third person, which would be a checker, someone who is approved by Walmart, who could enter and check the honey just in case the Internet of Things device is broken, right? But this is one way using smart contracts to keep products out of a supply chain. Next slide, please. This is how a supply chain on blockchain can be identified from a consumer perspective. They can use a QR code on the back of the product and find out much more about the product itself, where it came from, the name of the farmers, the type of the honeybees, what is the makeup of the honey, the location of the honey, which country it's in, etc., etc. And this is all very interesting from a consumer perspective, where the consumer can feel engaged in the product. And I think actually that would relate to the first speaker. They talked about how and why consumers buy products, the language, the engagement, the value add, or the consumer buy behavior because they feel attracted to this product from reading about the product. And the last slide, please. Last slide. So in summary, there are numerous products that can be, can you go back one, please? I'm summarizing. The summary. Thank you. So there are numerous products that could be pushed through a blockchain. The difficulty is, not every product, in my opinion, needs to go through a blockchain. I am a strong believer that blockchains for food supply chain, fresh food supply chains, dry food or frozen food, I think it's very important to use blockchain because we engage in the security and traceability of food. Nobody wants to get sick from consuming contaminated food. However, the barriers to entry when we talk about food itself through a blockchain can be very, very expensive. If you're a farmer producing rice or fresh food and you suddenly have to invest a huge amount of money in training, hiring of people, a blockchain system, or pay for a license to enter a blockchain system, and then buy Internet of Things, that can be very expensive. These need to be connected to a 5G router. If you're a farmer quite far away, you might not be able to connect to these systems. The relationship between the supplier and the retailer, once we engage in blockchain, it gives a lot more power to the retailer. And ultimately, they can make further demands against the suppliers themselves. And lastly, my other concern is if a supplier cannot upgrade, cannot invest so much money in the product design creation around the blockchain, then that farmer, that individual supplier, it will not be able to sell their products, or food products, particularly in the retailers, and they can probably go out of business. Why is that a serious problem? You and me, the consumer, we're going to lose access to a wider amount of different food categories and products, where we'll end up with what I would consider boring food choices. That's the end of my presentation today on blockchain entering the supply chain. I'm very happy to take questions on this later on the good, the bad, and the ugly of the blockchain. Thank you so much.
Do you think we are fully ready for this blockchain technology? Please wait. Don't answer now. That's my question for you. Do you think we are fully ready to accept this blockchain technology?
Are you asking me to answer now?
Later on, you can answer that later.
Oh,
okay.
Right. That's no problem. Thank you.
Are we ready for this to accept full blockchain technology in all aspects of our industries? But please wait. You will have your time to answer that question. Thank you so much, Patrick. It is very interesting presentation from you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia and Indonesia are famous with the poem. Let me try to impress our third speaker But I need to check first whether Dr. Muhammad Shahidan Shahri are here with me right now. Dr. Shahidan, are you with me right now? Hello? Dr. Shahidan is from Malaysia. Please. Hello, Dr. Shahidan. Are you joining the Zoom right now, or I need to ask the comments at first? Hello, Dr. Shahidan. Are you ready? You are the third speaker in today's conference.
Cannot join.
So, are you with me right now? While we are waiting, Dr. Shahidan ready to join with us. So I will introduce him a bit. Okay. Dr. Shahidan received his bachelor, master, and PhD, all from University Utara Malaysia. He has published more than 50 articles. In addition, he is also the editor of several international conferences in the field of economics and business. Let me check once more. Dr. Shahidan, are you with us right now? Hello? So maybe the committee can help me to find
He has joined.
the account.
Can you hear?
Maybe the, yeah. So Dr. Shahidan?
Yes.
Is it you?
Yes,
okay,
I'm
finally,
here.
Alhamdulillah.
But I'm very sorry because I cannot show my face because, you know, there's a technical problem. If I show my face, I cannot, you know, my microphone is turned off.
It is okay. I'm glad you are here. I thought something happened and then you got lost somewhere in digital forest.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll try to like rewind something. So, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia and Indonesia are famous with the poem. Let me try to impress our third speaker. So, Dr. Shahidan?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Jalan berlubang sangatlah rawan. Jangan ditempuh ketika hujan. Salam sapa saya ucapkan. Sudahlah kiranya awak berkenalan. Okay. Did I impress you?
Yes, it's very interesting poem.
You just try to make me happy. Okay, Dr. Shahidan, apa kabarnya?
Alhamdulillah sihat.
Alhamdulillah sihat. Ladies and gentlemen, our Mother Earth is currently facing a lot of environmental concern. The environmental problems like global warming, acid rain, air pollution, waste disposal, water pollution, climate change, and many more affect every human, animal, and nation on this planet. Over the last few decades, the exploitation of our planet and the degradation of our environment has gone up at an alarming rate. Dr. Shahidan here will discuss about how economic view on this degradation. So Dr. Shahidan, like other speakers, you have 20 minutes to talk about your presentation. So time is yours.
Thank you to the moderator. Please allow me to present my slide. May I present my slide?
Hello, maybe The committee can help me to show Dr. Shahidan's slide. Okay, so Dr. Shahidan, so actually, what is your focus today? Do
My
you talk
focus-
about the...
It's on environmental litigation from an economic perspective.
So do you think we are in danger?
If we look at the environmental litigation in the world, actually it is very alarming. Okay.
Okay.
So
this is your slide.
yes.
Okay. Time is yours.
Okay. So Assalamualaikum and good morning. Thank you to the moderator. So thank you for the invitations. Today, I'm going to talk about environmental litigation from an economics perspective. This issue actually is very widely discussed or debated among economists, and not only economists, but other researchers from other fields. Researchers from other fields also discuss this issue. Okay, but I'm not going to talk about findings from findings by researchers from other fields, but I'm going to talk about findings from economists that have been discussing and debating this issue. Okay, so when we are talking about environmental degradation, so it is very complex because of what? Because energy consumption, because economies, some countries or some economies just focus on how to boost their economies. They just want to increase economic growth, because by doing so, they can increase or enhance the standard of living. But at the same time, they need to be aware about the environmental degradation, because this issue is a very serious issue. Because later on we are going to see the impacts of environmental degradation, the detrimental environmental degradation the detrimental impacts of environmental degradation. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Okay, so but before that, I would like to focus on sustainable development goals. So what is sustainable development goals have been widely discussed in the world. Okay, so it is a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. So it means that when by 2030, we do not increase our economic growth only, but actually at the same time, we try to protect the environment. We have to make sure that we can achieve sustainability. Sustainability means that we are not going to have high economic growth only, but at the same time, our environment is not going to be affected, or it's not going to be harmed. So we are going to do two things at the same time. So we are going to boost economic growth, and at the same time, we need to consider environmental degradation, so that environmental degradation will not decline. Okay, will not be worse. Okay, so can we move to the next slide? So this is sustainable development goals. We have 17 sustainable development goals. So this has been widely discussed not only in developing countries, less developed countries also focus on this thing. Okay, so what I'm going to focus today is actually I'm going to focus on sustainable development goals 8, and at the same time I'm going to focus on sustainable development goals 13, because economists always focus on economic growth, and at the same time nowadays economies not only focus on economic growth to boost economic activity, to enhance, to reduce poverty, to reduce inequality, but at the same time, and now economies also discuss how we need to reduce environmental degradation. Because we need to achieve sustainability. Okay, if we look at discern economic growth, so Sustainable Development Goal 8, it focuses on discern work and economic growth. And then if we see Sustainable Development 13, we focus on climate action, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. So we are going to consider our environment. Okay, so some economists, they say that less developed countries are not really aware about the environmental degradation because they just need to focus on how to boost their economic growth only, but at the same time they harm their environment. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so when we say environmental degradation, so we need to know about climate change. So what is climate? Climate is the average weather in a place over many years, and then climate change is a shift in those average conditions. So we are going to see that not only economies are very worried about the climate change because the world temperature is increasing nowadays because of several factors. After this, we are going to discuss several factors that can cause CO2 emissions to increase. And then we are not going to discuss other perspectives, but we just focus on economic perspective only. Can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so if we look at the trend, the world trend, the global mean temperature from 20 to 2020, so it is the trend shows increasing. If you compare from 2011 or 2010, so the global temperature increased. Okay, so in 2020 it increased compared to 2010. So this reflects that environmental degradation actually is serious, and it merits retention from everybody, from all of the world, or from all countries, or for all of the countries in the world. Okay, so can we move to the next slide? Oh, can you click again? Click. I don't see my slide. Can you click again? We want to see the graph. Okay, it's okay. So if we look at this overview of CO2 emissions, okay. But before I move on to CO2 emissions, we need to know that the impacts of life expectancy is also very serious, because some economies have investigated, and then they found that if we have higher CO2 emissions or environmental degradation, okay, it can affect life expectancy. Okay, life expectancy is going to be reduced. What does it mean by life expectancy? Life expectancy is actually the average year that a person is expected to live. So when we have high environmental degradation, if we have greater environmental degradation, of course it can affect life expectancy. The average year of a person is expected to live is going to be reduced. This is actually based on previous findings from economies. Okay. So now we are going to see overview of CO2 emissions in the OIC countries. For your information, CO2 emissions in the OIC countries, I focus on the OIC countries. It contributes 15%. These countries, this nation, this region contributed 15% of the total global CO2 emissions in the in 2016. So if we look at the figure, we can understand that Iran is among the OIC countries. Iran is the most polluter of CO2 emissions, and then followed by Saudi Arabia, followed by Indonesia, Turkey, and Malaysia, if we look at the OIC countries only. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so this is actually the trends. This is actually overview of CO2 emissions in the OIC countries. We have several, and Comoros actually, among of the OIC countries, Comoros is the least, is smallest contributor of CO2 emissions in the region. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so that what I mentioned just now, why we do not want to have environmental degradation, why we don't want to have higher CO2 emissions. We know that CO2 emissions is CO2 emissions are the primary driver of global climate change. Okay, so why we don't want to have climate change, why we don't want to have greater CO2 emissions? Because some economies have investigated the impacts of CO2 emissions on life expectancy. Okay, so where they found that if we have higher CO2 emissions, and then life expectancies is going to be expected to decrease. So if we look at in the world, this is a top 10 life expectancy in the world in 2019. Okay, so we understand from these figures, so we can understand that Hong Kong has the highest life expectancy compared to other countries, and then followed by Japan. If we look at these figures, and then females is expected to live longer compared to males. Okay, males population in the world. Okay, so so if we look at this figure, we understand that Hong Kong is Hong Kong has the highest life expectancy, and followed by Japan, Mexico, Switzerland, Singapore, Italy, and etc. Okay, and then can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so this is actually environmental Kuznets curves. Okay, this has been widely used by economists when they want to find out the impacts of economic growth and on CO2 emissions or environmental degradation. Economists always discuss CO2 emissions in their studies rather than other gases, because CO2 emissions are the primary driver of climate change. Okay, so if we look at this figure, we can see that per capita income is on the x-axis, and then environmental degradation is on the y-axis. Okay, so in this curve, so from this curve, we can see that we have two stages. Okay, so we have two stages. From first, we have early stages, which indicates that when income per capita increases, so environmental degradation is also increases at the same time, and then the economy reached the turning point. Okay, the turning point, it means that this is the highest, this is the maximum environmental degradation, and then we have another stages which is called final stages. So at these stages, we can see that environmental degradation is going to decrease when we increase per capita income or income per capita. Okay, so economists always say that, okay, at the early stages, economists will say that early stages, usually it happens to less developed countries. This is because of what? Because they just need to focus on boosting per capita income, okay, without thinking about their environmental degradation. Okay, so that's why this always happens to less developed countries compared to developed countries. Developed countries are at the final stages. What are the final stages? Final stages means that we continue to increase per capita income or income per capita. We can see that environmental degradation is going to reduce. Why does it happen? Because economists say that when some countries, they are developed countries, they know they have high awareness. They have high awareness about their environment. They are more concerned about their environment because they have better technology. Okay, they have advanced technology to reduce CO2 emissions, to reduce climate change. Okay, so that's why they say that developed countries always have always are in the final stages. However, this curve is also debated by economists also, because why? Because if they say that it always happens to developed countries only, but if we look at the CO2 emissions in the United States, the CO2 emissions in the United States, the United States is the second largest, the second most polluter of CO2 emissions the second most emitter of CO2 emissions in the world. Okay, so as we know that, and nothing is perfect. Of course, if this Kuznets curve was introduced by Grossman, and that is, of course, it has some shortage. Okay, and then, and not only environmental Kuznets curves is used by previous studies, but some studies also use IPAD model. IPAD stands for I stands for environmental degradation, P stands for population, A stands for it means that's technology, and then affluence, and then T stands for technology. So they use these IPAD model to impact the factors that can impact environmental degradation. It means that population, not only economic growth, because they use economic growth as a proxy for affluence, and then they use energy consumption as a proxy for technology. So if we have advanced technology, sometimes that's why we say that even though the United States is developed countries, but it still contributes a very large amount of CO2. Okay. So IPAD model is widely used, and then some economists they extended IPAD model by using STRIPAT, STRIPAT. Okay, so this is actually how they use how they investigated the impact, the factors that can influence environmental degradation. It means that in the IPAD model, it is not only economic growth, it is not only energy consumption, but it's also population that can contribute to CO2 emissions. That's why some economists they use population in their studies, and they found that population growth can contribute to environmental degradation. Okay, urbanization can contribute CO2 emissions also. Other than that, they add also tourism. They also add corruption. So it means that not only these factors, not only these three factors that can contribute to CO2 emissions, but they say that corruption also can contribute to CO2 emissions, because when we have high corruption, it contribute to CO2 emissions. Why? Because when a country has a very high corruption level, it means that it is very easy for firms or for plants to set up their business or to run into operation, because even though they do not fulfill or they do not meet their environmental regulations, they just need to pay money to some bodies, and then they can operate even though they do not follow the environmental regulations. So that's why some economists found out that if countries with high level of corruption, they tend to produce more CO2 emissions, or they create environmental degradation, worse environmental degradation. So this is actually should be given attention by all peoples, not only governments, but all peoples itself, and by businesses also, firms like firms also. Okay, can we move on to the next slide?
Dr. Shahidan?
Yes?
This is Amalia. I'm sorry, but you only have 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
I can remind you about this.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
for reminding
Please
me.
continue.
Okay, so this is actually iPad model that I have discussed just now. So can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so when we are talking about iPad model, when we are talking environmental Kuznets curve, so they use they blame economists blame economic growth. Okay, when we have higher economic growth, actually it can contribute to CO2 emissions because of economic activities. If we look at energy consumption consumed in every economic sector, such as industry, agriculture, transportation, services. So we can understand that energy consumption is not only consumed in some certain sectors only, but it is consumed in every sector. Because if we don't have energy, of course, we cannot generate that activity in that sectors. Okay, so but before that, I would like to explain the definitions of GDP. So maybe some of you are very familiar with this term GDP, because it's widely used by economists, not only economists, but many newspapers also use this term GDP. But maybe some of us are not familiar, do not really understand what is GDP. Okay, GDP means that the total monetary or market value of all finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. Okay, so it means that we measure if we have high outputs. Okay, so if we have high outputs that we produce in our country, so it means that our GDP is going to increase. But whether to see the standard of living is going to rise or not, we cannot say that, okay, if your GDP is higher, so you can say that your GDP is higher. Your standard of living, your standard of living is better, because if we have a small country like Singapore, so Singapore has not large GDP, not high GDP, high GDP compared to Singapore, compared to Indonesia, because Indonesia, the reasons why we cannot say that if you have higher GDP and that the standard of living is going to be higher, we cannot say that, because we are going to look at GDP per capita. It means that you need to divide GDP by population, so that we can see that whether the standard of living in that country is going to be higher or not. Okay, so I'm not going to show, because we are running out of time. I'm not going to explain 3 approaches that we use to calculate GDP. But what I want to say that we want to see to measure economic growth, so we have to see GDP, the previous GDP, we have to compare the previous GDP and the current GDP. So if we want to compare the standard of living, we have to look at GDP per capita. It means that we have to divide GDP by population, because if countries with a small population is with a small size of country, so of course it has a small GDP compared to a country with a large size. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide? So this is if we look at the world's biggest economies for 2019 and 2020. So if we look at 2020, so it is very clear, it is very obvious that we can observe that the United States is the highest, the biggest economies in the world. And then China is the second, followed by Japan, Germany, UK, the United Kingdom, India, France, Italy, Brazil, Canada. Okay, can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so if we look at the iPad model, we can understand not only economic growth can contribute, not only GDP per capita or GDP can contribute to CO2 emissions or environmental degradation, but population is also one of the factors that can influence CO2 emissions or environmental degradation. And that if we look at this total, the world's top 10 populous countries, we can observe that China has the largest population in the world compared to other countries. So followed by India and United States. So if we look at the CO2, the total CO2 emissions in the world, China is the largest contributor or polluter of emitter of CO2 emissions. But if we look at this population, this overview of population, so we can understand that China is also the most populous country. And then if we look at GDP, China is the second biggest economy in the world. Okay, so but we cannot judge by looking at this overview, but we have to investigate. Of course, we have to carry out several tests to find out whether these factors can influence. And then it is undeniable that it is undeniable that population growth can contribute to CO2 emissions or environmental degradation. And then we move on to the next slide. Okay, so when we are talking about iPad model just now, and then economists also in their studies, they focus also the effects of energy consumption on environmental degradation. So it means that if we use when we discuss energy, we have to know that we have two different types of energy. We have renewable energy, and then we also have renewable energy. So if we are talking about non-renewable energy, so we focus on coal, gas, and oil and etc. Not only three types of this energy. I just give these three types only. Okay, so and then we also have renewable energy, and then such as hydro, solar, biofuel. Okay, so these not on economists. I'm talking about economists' perspective only. Economists always say that non-renewable energy can contribute to environmental degradation. It can increase CO2 emissions through combustion. Okay, so compared to renewable energy, it can be created. So it is actually safe. It is not harmful to the environment. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide?
Dr. Shahidan, I'm afraid maybe you only have like 1 minute because we still have two other speakers.
Oh, okay.
So,
so
yeah, can you make it this as a closing slide for you?
Okay, sorry.
I'm really sorry about this.
It's okay. Thank you for the reminder. So can we move on to the last slide? Wait. Policy implication first. Can we go to a policy implication without discussing challenges? Policy implication. The slide that shows policy implication. Policy implication. Okay, policy implication. If so economists, they have done already their investigation, they have conducted their studies, and they propose that we need to increase the use of renewable energy. This is actually not for, this is why not only in Malaysia, but in other countries, especially ASEAN countries, also focus on increasing the use of renewable energy. They have their target, they have their percentage of using renewable energy so that, we can reduce environmental degradation. So that's why we need to use solar, and we need to use hydro, biofuel. This is very friendly environmental. It is environmentally friendly. Okay, it is environmentally friendly, and it does not contribute to CO2 emissions. That's why they propose it in there. However, some economists also found out that if we don't have, because this renewable energy is very limited. It depends on the weather also, like solar, it depends on the weather. When it is sunny, and then when the day is sunny, and then we can have that kind of energy. But if we don't, at night, we cannot produce this type of energy. So if we have limited amounts of these kinds of energy, we can use gas consumption. We can increase gas consumption, because economists found that gas consumption contribute a smaller impact on environmental degradation compared to oil. Okay, I think that's all from me. I'm sorry for exceeding the time. Okay, thank you for giving attention. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shahid, and I'm really sorry about this.
It's okay.
We start this conference a bit late due to some technical issue. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you can type your question on the chat forum right now, or raise your hand if you wish to talk to the speaker when the loudspeaker finishes his speech. But please make sure you type your question short and clear, because perhaps we only have 10 minutes for Q&A session. Okay, so the next speakers will be Dr. Chen Dung Lu from University of Economic and Law, Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, Dr. Tien Dung, are you with us right now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so but I cannot
Can
see
you hear
your
me?
face. Yeah, I can hear you, but I cannot
Yeah,
see your
thank you.
voice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's okay. Okay. So Dr. Chen Dung's areas of interest and research are in economics, development economics, behavioral science, international business and management, entrepreneurship, and innovation. He also served as a reviewer in International Journal of Organizational Analysis, International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management, and much more. Okay, Dr. Chen Dung, where are you?
9.
You with me right now, right? I kindly remind to all the participants, please regularly check your microphone. Make sure this you mute your speaker or microphone. Okay, Dr. Chen Dung, are you with me right now?
Yes, okay.
Okay. Okay, so how are you today?
It's good today, Vietnam National Day, so
okay.
so I would like to wish you and your family health and safety. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I cannot give you 20 minutes. I'm really sorry about this, because we still have one speaker
okay,
after you.
Yeah.
So maybe 15 minutes. I'm really sorry about this. So 5 minutes before the time is over, I will kindly remind you about that. Thank you so much.
So let me start my presentation. Good morning, dear delegates and scientists. I would like to thank Ismail for inviting me today to play as the speaker. And today is National Day of Vietnam. So once again, I would like to wish you health and safety. The delegates, among the many emerging topics relevant to the pandemics and social economics, also technology innovation. But today I would like to talk to you about a topic that have more than 6 years of research history and always play a central role in the international business. The relationship between the internationalization and firm performance. And in this study, the firm performance will be explored through the lens of strategic entrepreneurship. And the purpose of this study is to investigate the mechanism underlying the relationship between internationalization and strategic entrepreneurship. And in this study, we also focus on the role, the buffering role of knowledge intensity and dynamic capacity. Next slide, please. Sorry. Yes, here. I will begin by outlining the study background. And we know that the internationalization can be used strategically to develop competitive advantage in the corporate and its business strategy. And the relationship between internationalization and firm performance has been synthesized in international business theory. However, previous study has not fully explored the mechanism effects of internationalization on firm performance, firm outcome, including financial and non-financial causes. And international business theory also states SME internationalization comprise of economics and non-economics objectives. However, the mechanism of the impact of internationalization on the non-economic performance of the business has not been explored, or is provide misfinding among many previous study, and this contradictory finding may result from less to pay attention to the critical mediator and moderating factor. So in this study, we try to investigate these moderator and mediator that underlie the relationship between internationalization and firm outcome. And the firm outcome in this study will be presented through the lens of strategic entrepreneurship. So next slide, please. Next one, please. Okay, yeah. Besides that, when we view the international business of SME in many developing countries, we see that the international strategy of SMEs is now more dependent on the new business venture and strategy new renewal. So in this context, strategic entrepreneurship is a unique distinction concept through which enterprise can build its competitive and success. And this many firms adopts entrepreneurship direction at a critical international business strategy, and play as a strategic channel for promoting business capacity, competitive advantages, and firm performance. However, thus far, research has called a tricky question: why do some firms organize themselves to be entrepreneurial, why others do not? And furthermore, why do some entrepreneurial firms play more profit financially more than other on the global markets, also on the domestic markets? And this question will be addressed in our study. So next slide, please. To address the
mana sih anak SP itu?
Sorry. To address the relationship between internationalization and firm performance, in this study we focus on the role of knowledge stock or knowledge intensity in the business. And knowledge from more available strategy resources, enabling each
Please your microphone, Mr. Sorry, Mr. Tin. Your microphone mute.
Dr. Tien, I'm sorry that your microphone is muted right now. Dr. Tien. I also can reminder to all the participants, please mute your microphone. Dr. Tien, your microphone is muted right now, so we cannot hear your voice. Okay, please move this window away from the share application. So do you wish you don't have this window? So only full PowerPoint?
It's okay.
Okay. So you can continue your speech.
Okay, next slide, please.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay.
Okay, the research question for this study is that which based on the knowledge-based theory. So we investigate 3 main questions. The first question, the first research question is that how internationalization can be increased strategic entrepreneurship. And the second question is how the relationship between internationalization and strategic entrepreneurship mediating by the knowledge intensity. And the last question is how this relationship could be moderating by the dynamic capacity. And dynamic capacity in this study, including entrepreneurship orientation, adaptive culture, and observe the capacity. So can we move on the next slide? Let's have a look at the few ones, the conceptual framework. And as you can see, that the model developed in this study is based on internationalization theory, knowledge theory, and dynamic capacity theory. The main direction we want to investigate in this study is the relationship, the direct relationship between internationalization and strategic entrepreneurship. Besides that, this relationship will be also mediated by the knowledge intensity. And in this model, we also investigate the moderating roles of 3 capacity dynamics in the corporates, including observative capacity, entrepreneurial orientation, and adaptive culture. Yeah. I would like to give some definition on the, okay, here, about the methods based on the available of data in the mode of variable in the research model. So in this study, we adopt the survey data, processing data, and the data collection were conducted in the 2021 in Vietnam with 422 key role employees in 98 SME export and import firm. The response rate for this study 93%. And for the method, we use covariance by structural equation model and using the Amos software. About the measurements, all construct in the model is the cell repository velocity scale, and including depending variable in depending variable and mediating variable and moderating variable. So next slide, please. You can see in the table 1, table 1 present the sample descriptive with the 98 SME import and import firm in Vietnam. Next slide, please. in this study, we adopted CPSAM. So the CPSAM including two model, measurements model and structuring model. And you can see in the table 2, the mode of the criteria to assess reliability of the scale also meets the ratio. For example, CR critical ratio AVEs. Okay, so next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Dr. Chen.
Yeah.
5 minutes left.
Okay,
Maybe not even 5 minutes, but maybe 3 minutes left. I'm
yes.
sorry about this.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, here. Go back, speak. Go back one slide. Okay, here. The table 5 present the main finding from the study. At which we can see that the move of the relationship in the research model is supported by the data. The effects of internationalization on strategic entrepreneurship is significant. The mediating of knowledge intensity and the moderating of dynamic capacity also significant in this study. So we can move to the discussion to summarize some findings from this study. Can we move to the discussion part, please? One more slide, please. The next one. Okay, here in this study, we provide some theoretical implication and administrating the application for the theoretical contribution. In this study, we find that the knowledge intensity measure at observing and reconciling knowledge acquired through internationalization and can be translated into firm performance. And SME observing capacity, entrepreneurial orientation, and adaptive culture can act as a buffer, allowing international knowledge can translate into administration body, and then this translate into the firm performance. And dynamic capacity and knowledge can extend firm capacity for knowledge acquisition and mitigate the observed effects of international relation on firm performance. Next slide, please. The most important finding of in this study, we focus on the role of knowledge stock or knowledge intensity on the relationship between internationalization and firm performance. And in this study, knowledge and corporate entrepreneurship and crucial strategy assess the significant impact on firm direction and competitive philosophy. Knowledge behavior of the firm should be comprehensive organization phenomena in strategic management and international business strategy. And the dynamic capacity presents knowledge combination that can lead to different performance between internationalization and firm outcome, and there resulting in competitive advantage on the global markets and domestic markets also. Next slide, please. Here we provide some APCAME implication. So the main implication here is that the SME should recognize the critical role of strategic entrepreneurship as a vital component of human capital in the firm resources. And the second one is that the knowledge resources can be played as vital resources for firm performance and its internationalization performance. The last implication is that the manager of SME should foster dynamic capacity, focus on the three dynamic capacity, namely entrepreneurial orientation, adaptive culture, and observative capacity to play at the foundation for international knowledge sharing and acquisition. So I would like to go to the conclusion. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
but the time is over. I'm really sorry about this.
Okay, thank you for your attention.
So I mean, you can have like maybe less than 1 minute to close your presentation. I'm really sorry about this.
It's okay. So I would like to conclusion to summarize the study. This study shed light on the mechanism on how SMEs can improving their performance with strategic entrepreneurship based on the internationalization strategy. However, in this study, we adopt a self-assessment survey questionnaire, and the relationship between internationalization and firm performance are time dependent, and it's will be valued if further research or future research adopted longitudinal panel data to invest more to bring more evidence on the relationship between internationalization and other dimension of firm performance, including economics and non-economics outcome. So I will stop my presentation here, and I hope that the information will be will be so thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the last speaker is Dr. Lukmanul Hakim. Dr. Lukman, are you with me right now?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Lukmanul Hakim, as the last speaker, is going to talk about post-COVID-19 economic recovery by strengthening small and micro enterprises in Indonesia. And I'm really sorry, perhaps you only have 10 minutes to talk, so we can have at least 10 minutes for discussion time. I'm really sorry about this, Dr. Lukmanul.
Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the chance given to me. Okay, let me introduce myself. I am Lukmanul Hakim, who would like to share an article, which is titled Post-COVID-19 Economic Recovery by Strengthening Small and Micro Enterprise in Indonesia. Okay. President of Republic Indonesia Statement number 12, 2022, the unprecedented scale and scope of COVID-19 pandemic impact has triggered massive and wide-ranging response from national government, international development organizations, and supranational organization, the Indonesian government. In addition to declaring the COVID-19 pandemic as a national disaster. Okay. The research result, a study on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Indonesian economic and the impact of the pandemic on the country's long-term development goal and objective with current social and economic conditions. So, research show the gap between long-term and current economic performance likely due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy and society. Okay. The drastic decline in aggregate demand due to concern in household and corporate spending, investment, and export triggered and surge in often unemployment and underemployment. While the government with and broad response helped mitigate the impact of the crisis on the economy and vulnerable section of society, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic add to the underlying problem facing the Indonesian economy, including the industrialization, vast urban-rural, as well as digital divide between countries, regions, unemployment, and underemployment. Problems occur such as 1. Weak human research development, 2. Low participation in global value chain, 3. Low education effectiveness. Last. Okay. Solution approach, policy recommendation to fast the economic and society based on a long-term development trajectory include initiatives to increase the effectiveness of emergency response program and address structural issues. Okay. Implementation approach, strengthening and expanding the scope of a government program that support the business world and the community in the field of 1. Education, 2. Employment, 3. Smith and 3. Okay. Okay. Accelerate competitiveness and job creation. This approach aims for economic recovery. 1. Strengthen the competitiveness of the private sector. 2. Increase investment in strategic sector. 3. Achieve economic reform. And 4. Improve infrastructure. Okay. Action approach and suggestion. The need for 1. Acceleration of highway implementation, 2. National information, and 3. Asian connectivity initiative. Okay. Future direction and goal. Achievement will support effort to priority the adoption and speed of digitalization in the economy, governance, and cross-border trade. Okay. Conclusion, it is hoped that it can strengthen social economy, integration, and employment for young people. A result underscores the fact that to ensure sustainable effectiveness and competitiveness, it is imperative for economic to adopt and align their practice, procedure, and institution with emerging trend and drivers of best practice performance. Yeah. 20. Okay. Same technology human, don't just design, don't be before by here. It's not that a guide, something is ready. Okay. Okay, thank you. I think it is enough for my presentation. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I close by saying, Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sorry,
Ms. Rahmalia, there is no voice. I cannot hear your voice.
Okay. Thank you so much for letting me know that my speaker is turned off. Okay, it's time for discussion because all the speakers already present their works, but unfortunately, we only have 5 minutes time left. So the first question will be from the participants, Dr. Indra Budi, if I'm not mistaken. The question is addressed to Dr. Shahidan. So the question is, how far the COVID-19 affect the life expectancy?
Okay, thank you.
Could you please wait for a moment? I'm sorry. And the second question will be from me to Dr. Patrick about how far we can accept that digital blockchain technology in our lives. And then each of you will only have 2 minutes only to answer the questions. I'm really sorry about this. Please, Dr. Shahidan, so the first time will be yours.
Okay, thank you for the moderator. It is indeed, it's very true that when we have COVID-19, so many people, died of COVID-19. And then if we look at the statistics, it's million people who have died of COVID-19. So of course, this will affect life expectancy because of many people who have died of COVID-19. And then if we compare to the fact the disease that can cause death, the world largest killer is not COVID-19. COVID-19 is still low compared to ischemic heart disease. Ischemic heart disease is the global biggest killer in the world. But when we look at only COVID-19 without thinking about other kinds of other diseases, so of course it can affect life expectancy because many people have died not only in certain country but in all over the world. So not only in Malaysia but also it happens to the United States, India, Indonesia. Okay, so the world life expectancy is also expected to decrease that year in that year. Okay, so I think that's all from me.
Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, so it's time for you to answer my questions.
Great, thanks for that. The question actually has several parts, but I'm going to target two main. First of all, blockchain, which is often associated with a cryptocurrency, the reason why it's having so little traction globally between governments is because it's very difficult for governments to collect tax, right? So the blockchain cryptocurrency is very different to blockchain supply chain. What we're doing in supply chain is using the blockchain asset, the skill structure, how it's made, how it performs. So there's really no relationship to cryptocurrency, although in the future I hesitate to say that ultimately blockchain will be paid through cryptocurrency of one way or another. Now, to answer the question directly, when will or should blockchain be incorporated into supply chain? If we're very concerned of the global environment, as some speakers have mentioned today, if we're very concerned about the health of all our citizens worldwide, as some speakers have mentioned today, then clearly we have to have traceability in the food supply chain. Without traceability, we are unable to confirm if the food is safe to eat or not. With so many criminals entering the food systems with fake food, around roughly $40 billion last year alone within the EU, it's phenomenal. So blockchain being deployed within a supply chain, for me, is very, very important. However, that comes with some reservations. I've worked in blockchain for the past 5 years. I worked in supply chain for 30. I know when we engage with bullies in the supply chain, and these are global retailers, the power is in the buyer. The man with the gold makes the rules. And right now, people like Walmart, Tesco, Carrefour, they're the big players globally who are working with IBM, and they will start to dictate to suppliers, if you don't upgrade into a blockchain facility, if you don't hire skilled people to understand how to engage and deploy within the blockchain, if you don't upgrade by introducing Internet of Things into your production facilities, then we will not do business with you. And that will mean companies will go bankrupt. So although I'm very proactive on bringing blockchain into fresh food supply chains, grain supply chains, or global commodity chains for supply chains, for food safety and traceability, I think the negative effect is going to be terrible on suppliers. Either you make the upgrade or you lose the contract.
Okay, thank you so much, Patrick. I'm really sorry.
My pleasure.
Now time is over. But before we close our session right now, so please turn on your camera because we have photo group right now. Okay, and give me your best smile to all the participants. Please turn on your camera, give us your best smile. Okay, are we ready? So, beli ketut, are you ready to take the picture?
Okay.
Okay. So we beli ketut will give us the comment, right?
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The first slide, and then the next slide. Right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. This smile. Okay. Next. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Billy, and thank you for all the participants. I think we have covered everything on the list. For those the questions are not delivered to the speakers, I'm very sorry about this, but you can contact the committee and ask them for the email address of each speaker that you wish to have conversation, and then I'm sure that they will be very happy to give you the address. Okay. We have discussed the marketing, psychology effect, blockchain, degradation in the economic view, internationalization, and economic recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic is a public health emergency, but it is far more. It is an economic crisis, a social crisis, and a human crisis that is fast becoming a human rights crisis. The countries that best succeeded in curbing the spread of the virus were not necessarily those with more resources, but rather those who did not hesitate to implement aggressive measures to contain the virus or eventually control its spread as early as possible. To do this, we must be together, hand in hand, try to actively participate, do our best. Now we are coming to the end of the discussion. We have about 60 minutes for lunch break and pray. Please stay because the committee will announce the break room. The conference will resume at 1 p.m. on time. Please make sure you don't miss it. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to give big applause to all the speakers today. Thank you so much for all the speakers. I'm really happy to meet you this morning. And I'm really sorry you don't have enough time to talk about all the issue. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please look after yourself. We hope for a brighter future very soon. And remember, our enemy is the virus right now, not the people. Thank you so much. On behalf of the crew here, IBI Dharma Jaya, Eldua Dikti and co-host, I wish you health and very best. Thank you so much. Hope to see you in the next conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
Gini doang ternyata. Terima kasih.
Ya, presenter nanti jam 12.45 tolong masuk ke grup utama ya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih semuanya. Salam.
Gapai semua impian
Ingat ya udah mau
terus berinovasi untuk membangun negeri.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun, selamat datang di kampus Dharma Jaya dengan visi menjadi perguruan tinggi pembelajaran unggul berbasis riset dan teknologi informasi. Izinkan kami membantu mewujudkan mimpi dan harapan untuk mencapai masa depan yang lebih baik.
Dharma Jaya, kampus terbaik untuk semua. Dharma Jaya, pilihan utama. Sambutlah masa depan yang cerah bersama kami.
Ini sebelum langsung tayo na lang muna ang maglansa.
Yes, paano kailangan mesa?
Hindi dito ako sa pwesto mo, i-move mo lang yung kanila.
Langkahkan kaki, gapai semua impian, terus berinovasi untuk membangun negeri.
Ay, ito rin yung breakout session namin.
Kampus yang paling unggul dalam ilmu teknologi dan juga bisnis.
Oh, ito rin yung breakout session. Ang liko.
Berkarakter, berkompeten dan juga bermutu. Dharma Jaya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello everyone. My name is Rido Jalani. I'm from Malaysia. I'm a student from University Technical Malaysia Melaka. I'm here joining a mobility program with Dharma Jaya. Today I'm going to share you guys my experience throughout this journey in Dharma Jaya. First of all, I would like to thank Dharma Jaya, especially the international office, to give me chance to join this program in Dharma Jaya. First, here I learned a lot of new things. I learned about their cultures, their social is different from my country. I learned to get a lot of new words, new vocabulary, especially from Indonesian language. Next, the food. The food was really delicious, delightful. For example, I get to taste ayam bakar, ayam geprek, and pecel lele. It's really nice and good. The Lampung itself have many attractive places that I can visit. For example, I had a chance to visit Pahawang Island, and the view was really breathtaking. Next was the students, the lecturer. I learned a lot of things, especially when come to academics. The lecturer teach me one at another time because I'm a slow learner myself, and the lecturers really help me to get to know the things teachers in the classroom. Even though they use Indonesian language, but I get to understand most of the context that my lecturers deliver to me. And it really helped me a lot during my study in Dharma Jaya. And the student also helped me to guide me for everything, especially for the scheduling, for the test, for the social life. They asked me out for karaoke, for visit places, for cafe, for hangout, and it's really fun. And lastly, in this program, I get to know different kind of culture from different country. For example, Russia, Madagascar, Thailand, and Kenya. They have difference in culture, in language, but I get to know a lot of new knowledge from them, and it's really a good thing. So if you guys out there, you want to join this program, you can experience all of that in a very good way. So it's a good thing for you to join this program. You're gonna be exposed to a lot of international surroundings. So it helps you to grow, to learn, and self-motivate yourself to be more courage in outside world. It helps you to be more open-minded. So that's all for today. Thank you so much. Dharma Jaya is the best.